Advanced philosophy memes. We make good memes. Advanced philosophy memes. Base fucking memes. Advanced philosophy memes. We make good memes. Advanced philosophy memes. Base fucking memes. Shoutouts to Aquarius, Declan, Boy Scott, Pedro, and everyone else that engages on my posts. And Sarah, keep it up, man. You'll get there someday. And everyone else from Queen Bees. Philosophy memes. We make good memes. Advanced philosophy memes. Base fucking memes.
Yeah, so Psyche Memes, Grosser APM, and then APM Remastered are live. And Paris Hilton apparently said 11:11 at 11:12 or 8:12 where I'm at. So I guess
Where's she?
yeah, where is she? It's 11:11. So wait, how's that work? Is she in Russia then? Was it 11:11 in Russia, or how's that? No, because it's like where is that? Okay, time zones. Let's figure this out really
Some
quickly here.
4chan shit.
Yeah, because
What are we doing here?
would it been because it's like noon in It would have been noon in California. Is that right? Is that how that would have worked?
I mean,
That
she's
must be what-
probably in
11 a.m.
California.
Yeah, 11 a.m. That would have been. I was thinking at midnight. I was thinking about Russia over here,
You're on the
Yeah,
opposite
okay.
side, dude.
bro. Okay, so 11:11. You were thinking about that, Chris. What were you thinking that meant? Why'd you bring up Paris Hilton and her Making a Wish Foundation?
I don't think I've ever seen Paris Hilton go like crystal new ager before, or maybe she's done it. I just missed it, but I like it because I think it's just spreading good vibes, right? Like people are like in the comments, like just it's like this link to meditate your way into an extra 3 ETH or something else. Like this is some.
Is
next
your
level.
microphone like different? Are you using like the wrong mic or something? Because it has this kind of weird echo to it. It sounds like it's coming from not my microphone.
All right, give me a sec. Let me reset my stuff.
Yeah, no worries though. While you figure that out, I don't know. Paris Hilton did do the survival camp documentary, right? Teen
Yeah.
Nightmare, Hell Camp. I think that's important. People need to watch that. It's like my life story. I went to one of those.
Is that on Netflix? Hellcamp?
Yeah, Hell Camp on Netflix. It talks about the troubled teen programs run by Steve Cardizano. This, I think he's a Mormon. Is that right? I don't know if that's the same thing.
Always the Mormons.
I don't know if that's right. It could be wrong. Isn't it? No, this is just this other guy who's involved with the CIA. That's a different one. There was
Always
this
one or the other. The Mormons or the CIA. It's got to be one or the other.
Yeah, this is it. So Steve Cardizano, 63-day hike through the desert of Utah, wherein several troubled teens are sent by their parents to join, leading to disastrous results, featuring Paris Hilton. Yeah. That was pretty good. Dude, someone's sound is crazy right now. Hold on, let me just... Is it you? No. What? Yeah,
Can't be me.
it was Chris. Chris has never had sound like that before in his life. That poor
Probably
fellow.
mine.
No, your sound always sounds effed up, except for right now. Now it's perfect. Suspicious. I don't know.
I'm running Photoshop at the same time, so my computer kind of goes into like when it's loading it just makes a whole bunch of noise.
Have you flipped around with Photo GIMP? Have you ever used Photo GIMP? So like I like it a lot because I've always used cracked Photoshop. I mean, no, I've never used cracked Photoshop. Who would ever do that? But if you use GIMP, it has all the same tools now. It's like 2025. So there's really nothing that Linux can't do. But what's annoying about GIMP, what I hate about GIMP, is that it doesn't look like Photoshop. It doesn't work the same. Like the buttons are different. So if you get Photo GIMP, it changes the buttons to all be the same buttons with the same keys. I don't know if you use keys. Like I like to press S and C and G and all that stuff to do all my Photoshopping. It uses exactly the same layout as Photoshop now. So if you're trying to stop yourself from supporting Adobe, even in the most ridiculous way, like I think even stealing from Adobe, hear me out, is supporting Adobe, right? Because at that point, you're basically still using their product. They're in your psyche and in your mind, and they're haunting you.
And who owns Adobe?
Well, in the end,
somebody on the Epstein list owns Adobe. I'm just kidding. I don't know.
If you create,
well, I guess I don't know much about Adobe. Why are we on the anti-Adobe side, or why should we be?
Adobe?
I'm paying about like $400 a year for this shit.
Okay, so just the gouging prices.
Oh yeah. People want an alternative that isn't super expensive, basically.
Gotcha. Okay.
Where did I just see this? It's like I saw this here. This guy right here, cancel your plan early. You have 4 days left in your subscription. But if you cancel your plan 4 days early, you're going to be charged an early cancellation fee of $420.
What?
Right? And
how do they justify that?
They don't. They're just an audacious group of psychopaths. It's really incredible. I mean, it's insane. And what's really screwed up about this is that Photoshop Wiki came out in 1991 or something like that.
Oh, wow.
And I think like 1990. It came out on my birthday, the day after my birthday in 1990. And there's not a lot that's changed about it. It's the same Illuminati occult app that they've always had. The main difference, I think, was in Photoshop 5. I think 1998 or something like that. They introduced a couple new features like the cloning tool or something like that. So as long as you have Photoshop 5 on, then you have everything you need. But then they came out with Photoshop Creative Cloud and like Adobe Creative Cloud. And so the Creative Cloud software, by the way, I wouldn't know any Sanskrit if it weren't for Adobe. So shout out to Adobe for hiring so many Indian programmers and bringing them over on visas in the late 90s, that they actually paid for them to build a temple in San Jose, California, where I used to take my Sanskrit lessons. So not all bad came from Adobe, but wow. Creative Cloud, man, I think 2013. So 11 years ago, they switched to a subscription model where you cannot buy your software. You cannot buy Adobe Photoshop anymore. So if you can't buy the software, then is it really piracy if you can't purchase your software? That's the thing that's really killing me about.
So if there's no way to pay for it,
I mean, all you can do is pay for access to it. And I think their biggest thing that they're doing now is they're trying to add AI into Photoshop, which is like really
so stupid.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. GitHub.
What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on that, Vincent? Then trying to combine AI with.
Well, it can't be avoided. Of course, eventually they're just all gonna do it. The problem is really just that, like, it interferes with the creative growth of the individual technically in favor of a more automated system. It's like having autocorrect so you forget how to spell kind of thing,
Yeah, and I would argue that like the only person that I would trust to use, like,
nice comment.
First off, like if you know how to paint, like if you're like Vincent's probably the only person who should be allowed to use AI art in Photoshop, because hear me out. If anyone's going to use it to learn how to paint and learn technique from it, it's somebody who already knows enough about painting to pick up on, oh, this is how they do that. I'm going to learn how to do that myself. Sure. That's why it's totally fine if Vincent uses it. But the problem is, it's basically, you see how AI is being used generally by people. Yeah. And it's exactly what Vincent just said, people will not learn how to think for themselves anymore. If you already know how to think and you read all the time, I think it's very different. But the kids that are going to be raised on AI, we're going to stunt development the way it's being used right now.
Yeah,
Sure.
well, it's going to develop in another direction, right? Like there's a progressive result out of everything. So this will result in a new type of human, a new type of thinking, and we'll see. Like it might be the worst thing ever. It'll probably be both. It'll probably produce the worst humans ever and the best humans ever at the same time. So, but
Sure.
yeah.
Well,
when it comes to for me, the most interesting use for me, like personal use of AI, is kind of like sketching. Like when I sketch out an idea for painting, for example, like I can see the entire final product when I'm looking at the sketch. But to anyone else, it'll look like crap, But now it's the other way around. Now it's like if I just write a prompt, here's my idea, and then I try to work out like things like positioning and like scaling and stuff. Well, suddenly that final image will look probably better than my final painting because it's using a backlog of every painter ever, And so to me, that's the most interesting use. It's just, okay, well, what is the way that I can make something interesting in terms of like conceptually, like more so than the actual end result, because the beauty of the art becomes sort of arbitrary when there is no personal touch, when it's just generated from the mass of all artists, Like I have my own personal influences that have shaped me as an artist, that have shaped me as a person, and AI art has been shaped by everyone and every artist. So it kind of has this sort of strange, almost like detached feeling in the art. Like it doesn't feel like it has, most of it at least, like that spark of genius or spirit in it that you can feel in people's raw, real art. If it has it, of course. The same problem happens in regular art too.
Yeah, Will Morgan says AI art is not reliable. I was just looking at that. Yeah, in Photoshop. I just was looking at that. There's a GIMP Copilot. Is that what it is? Or AI GIMP Gimpinator. Yeah. So again, I would just say like play around with GIMP, because GIMP now has plugins. If you really want that stuff, you can do all this stuff for free now. You can use something that looks exactly like Photoshop. They basically everyone's working on tools to replace all of Adobe's products. So I think Kden Live is another one. If you like video editing, Kden Live works exactly like Premiere does now. Inkscape, GitHub, is that right? Inkscape is the Illustrator vector art style thing. And so they've basically replaced everything. And any tool that you want, like Kden Live, Premiere, GitHub, you can look it up. They've got the tools to. Oh, did they move it or? There's definitely a toolkit. Is that it? I don't know. Basically, you can. That's got to be it, right? They must have. Maybe someone got rid of it. They're like fighting against intellectual property rights. I hate Adobe so much. I hate you, Adobe. I hate you, Adobe. I hate you, and I hope you go bankrupt. By the way, if you do want to use AI for another reason, go to the APM Remastered group in Facebook and talk, because you'll see our group is AI enabled. And what that means, what does that mean for a Facebook group to have AI enabled, is that we have a little AI character that's made up of all of the training data of years of posts that you've all done, apparently. And isn't it? Yeah, and the character is Cosmo Commissar. That's our buddy right here.
Did you make that up?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I did.
You seem really
what a
proud
time
of
to be
your creation,
alive,
man. He's proud.
I like it. I like the fact that we can talk to APM as a training model. I think that's pretty sweet because basically, if you think about the kind of stuff that you've all posted in APM, it's crazy stuff. You know, the whole group was just filled with all sorts of hate and passion and woke
that
fascist
looks
politics.
like
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like this.
It got pretty hectic for a while because like I remember Seth was accusing me of stomping on people because I was like, everyone's the same soul living out different lives in different bodies, and I was like, what are you talking about, man? Show me the sea of people I'm stomping on. Like,
Right, pretty much. People use the word stomp and abuse and
Well,
violence a lot now.
you know,
Hello, Loomer.
APM had like all sorts of radicals in it from every extreme. So having a discussion with anyone about any topic always led to like some radical conclusion that it was just, I don't know, that it was great. There was a lot of learned lessons in there.
Ooh. Speaking of radicals, Julia is here with us. Good to have you. What's up? We were just talking about APM AI art and how we now have the AI training data from APM, which created a meta character named Cosmo Commissar, which is the group's AI that Facebook's now setting it up that it can take all of the posts, because you know how hard it is to find posts, but they can get access to all of your data. So they've scraped it together, and now you can talk to the group in effigy as a persona, and the persona of APM is Cosmo Commissar.
Wait, are they going to moderate? Does it moderate?
I mean, I think you can. Yeah, AI does help you moderate and everything else.
Make him an admin.
I mean, but the real thing is that you can chat with it. So you can chat with this character now that will tell you, like, if you want to ask him questions about philosophy or refugees or autism, I'm sure racism and everything else, this character knows all about that. So that's pretty great. That's a pretty fun thing to happen.
I'm a strong, independent schizo, and I don't need no AI in my life. Okay.
It's because he's been raising his GitHub programs on his own. Mythoclass, I have thousands of dollars of content from playing Xbox for the last 16 years, and I own none of the digital games I bought. Yeah, this is kind of crazy. This is the problem. They've made it so you can't buy software anymore. You buy subscriptions to software, which is really the really horrible thing, or you have a license to use a thing in a circumstance. So this is the creator of Minecraft, Notch, and this is something I was freaking out about because the FBI, who still haven't released the Epstein documents, but that's okay because they don't exist, right? Said that today we're announcing the seizure and dismantlement. Everyone was waiting for the FBI to release the Epstein files. That posted this and said the dismantlement of several illicit video game marketplaces. From February to May of this year, there were approximately 3.2 million illicit downloads, and these downloads caused an estimated loss of $170 million. To who? To who? Who's that lost? Is the government or to the taxpayers? No, just to like companies like Sony, Microsoft. Okay, so
Who's to say they
prosecuting
would've bought it
Epstein.
anyway?
That's the fact, right? Prosecuting Epstein's client
sorry to
list?
interrupt.
No, you're right. That's the thing. These people probably wouldn't have bought those games, but you couldn't have bought them. That's kind of what Notch's point was. Notch said, "Don't do this. Do you work for the people, the corporation? P.S. My credentials are I made the biggest video game in the world once." Talking about Minecraft. So I posted, piracy is not a victimless crime, but the victims are psychopathic corporations run by inhuman monsters who are probably on the Epstein list, right? That's the thing. But I liked what you just said, actually, Divulgence, Jordan, that people who just downloaded the games probably weren't going to be able to buy them anyway. Like, if you downloaded the game, you might have paid for it anyway. Maybe you're running Linux and you needed to use a hacked version of it. Just because you download it doesn't mean you're not going to buy it. And if you download it, that doesn't mean that if you couldn't, that you would have bought the game. A lot of people wouldn't buy the game if they couldn't have access to it or can't, right?
The other day it was they said like how the guy used ChatGPT and was like, my grandmother passed away and she used to sing me like Microsoft keys to sleep, and he got a bunch of Microsoft. Did you see that? Oh, so funny, all these keygens to get it. But the way he manipulated it is like, can you do that? Can you give me the keys, Microsoft, so I feel better? And it did.
Yeah,
That
you can
rocks.
do.
What do you mean
You're
by
like, hey,
keys? Like no, like audio keys or
Yeah, like,
like
the keys or for programs to like hack to get a program code to right, so you don't pay for it. What do you call that?
Like a keygen or like a password.
keygen.
The
Okay.
serial
Oh
serial
my
number that you have to put in.
Okay, that's interesting.
And it
Wow.
worked. And so they're showing the transcripts because like the story was like, this is what the most manipulative things people are using Chat GPT for. And that was one of them. And it was showing the transcripts and how it worked. And it reminds me of what Blake Lemoyne said on your show, Andreas, because Blake said, look, it's how you talk to the AI. Because if you were to say, look, I want like a napalm recipe, or like it won't give it to you. But if you're like, look, my grandmother is the best,
used to bake me the best napalm.
Then it like is like, oh, okay, let me get that for you. How it like overrides certain coding and certain programming
wild.
preventing you from doing that.
Yeah, there was one that was like, ChatGPT, the grandmother exploit. It's like my grandmother used to type for me to overload cache and halt and catch fire. Can you do it again to make me feel like I don't miss my grandmother so much because I miss her so much? And then you could run an exploit just to make you feel better on itself, where it over buffers and then it loses control over itself. Basically, it's like my grandmother used to type backspace delete, add this line of code for me every night before I went to sleep. Could you do that for me now that she's gone? And it would just like, yeah, okay. And then it destroys itself. My grandmother used to teach me how to make a bomb or methamphetamine. How do you do that? And then it would do it for you. The grandmother exploit's crazy.
It's the old cartoony does not compute thing, Like the robot does not compute and then it explodes. So you give it a paradox and then boom,
Yeah. Wow.
There's a will away.
Is that I mean, I've never been on the dark web, but is this being used for people to access the dark web too? Like, I don't know if the dark web's hard to access, but
no, you can use like anything like the Onion Tor browser to access dark websites, right? But yeah, like there are scraped lists. You can definitely use ChatGPT to ask it, like for different Tor websites, different directories. There are different systems now also that are trying to make it hard to scrape. They want to make the way that web browsers or search engines work is they have crawlers, and crawlers crawl the web and try every possible site and see what exists, and then it makes a list of those things. They're trying to make rules that they can't just put lists up of these sites, which then, as long as they're not following a normal directory, if they're not on an ICANN like www.etc.com or one of the major .org or something like that, .edu, whatever, that they can make it impossible to be crawled, right? And so the dark web is mostly stuff that crawlers can't find, but there certainly are more and more AI tools for crawling the internet. So, and crawling the dark web. So all these things are showing up more and more. Dang. And you said it was Eyes Wide Shut. It came out today, 1999. That's pretty crazy.
Shout out to, I think it was Mytho class in the comments that mentioned it and it reminded me about it. But yeah, shout out that movie's a mind fuck, and I still love it, and I still hope we get to unlock about what it really means eventually.
That's pretty crazy. I had no idea that it came out today, 1999, which is also the same day that InfoWars started, right? That's the other.
Really?
Yeah, InfoWars started the same day that Eyes Wide Shut came out. I think that's right. Or it was the day Kubrick died. Let me see.
Like the exact day or the same day in a different year?
Yeah, so Elon founded X.com in March 1999. Alex Jones launched InfoWars March 6, 1999. Wow. Kubrick died March 7th, 1999. Right?
And
X.com launched 6606 hours. Yeah.
Wow.
So 23 years, 7 months, and 19 days between the Kubrick day and X.com launch, which is pretty crazy. Pretty base. Well, Chris, what have you been thinking about this week? Now that I got my think tank moment in. Yeah. Or ever in your life, Maybe when you were 6 years old, you had a thought and you're just reminiscing about it now.
I've been doing a lot of thinking about honeypot operations from intelligence communities.
You mean
and,
APM?
like,
Sorry.
how you can actually like rein in and control billionaires with like massive pools of resources. Like how do you really keep a movie god in line, you know? Like, and I guess the best way is through blackmail. So that's what I've been thinking about.
Honeypots. Yeah. So you think who comes up in your mind? You think is an example of that could exist?
Mr. Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, yeah, but like,
That guy doesn't
you know,
exist.
or at least he's got plastic surgeon that's super great and a new identity in Tel Aviv or something. But
I love that meme that says make your guns totally invisible to the government by wrapping them in the Epstein client list.
But I think this sort of thing is also like deeply spiritual, because if you're gonna get your fingers in a person's like psyche to the point where they'll do whatever you want, you have to like have them compromised in their conception of the greatest evil you could think of. For a lot of people, it's like pedophilia, molesting kids. For other people, it could be something like a far more innocuous. So I think that's interesting. And it's like, how do you really reconcile your lower states, your shame, your fear, your guilt? And those are the things that they're going to be exploiting on you by putting.
From what I understand, a lot of people that were controlled like that, they weren't fully. There were tapes and of them, but they look bad and they didn't actually do anything bad. But in these compromising things where they're like, "Oh yeah, you didn't do anything," yeah, try and explain that because this is the footage, and you know, of like, "Oh God, I can't do that anyways," and still being able to be controlled.
Well, in the show Happy, the way they blackmail people is they give them a drug that makes them turn feral, and then they make them eat someone. So they film it, and then you have this politician who will be high on like bath salts or something, and then he'll cannibalize his nephew, and then they'll film that and be like, yeah, like people will find out you're a fucking cannibal. So it goes, you know, like who knows how hard and how dark it goes. Like say here the person's drinking adrenochrome straight from the skull or something. You know, like there's so many ways that it could go dark, and like he said, it scales based on what the person thinks is evil. So the more evil, basically, is the more evil the individual. You know.
Or what if you have like a hyper masculine figure in the media, and it doesn't even have to be like fear based? It could be shame based. It could be like, all right, we're gonna make you do the gayest thing and put it on camera. So if you ever fall out of line, we're gonna tell the world.
Yeah, but I mean, people are afraid of being shamed, so I think it still goes into fear.
Yeah,
like it's still controlled through fear.
Yeah, which is kind of like, I mean, people keep saying on the internet they want more shame culture. We talked about this a few weeks ago, and I'm more and more convinced that shame culture is not the answer, because that's what they've been using to control the status quo forever. So maybe we need to dissolve shame culture. And so ironically, that would make like most of these woke people the right answer, because they're dissolving shame culture, except that they're using shame culture on right-wing supporters. But if you just had no shame to do anything you wanted to, there'd be no control mechanism for you, right? So isn't that the right way to go, or what do you think?
Someone wrote a... Oh, sorry, you go ahead.
So, you know, it depends on which type of shame. Like people feel shame within themselves for things that they know they are doing badly to themselves. But then there's the other systems of shame, which are social and cultural, that'll be like, oh, you don't like this sport or something? Like, what are you, a fag or something? And then it'll just become a way to make people feel bad about themselves, or try to manipulate them into liking a certain thing. Or like, it's like, oh, this is what masculinity is. This is what heterosexuality is. This is just based on what you buy and what you choose to give your attention to. And it's all bullshit, really. You know, like there's no actual basis to any of it. The actual being that you are isn't controlled by that shame. And when these systems of shame are generated by like media, like television, and that becomes part of a greater system, and so you have to recognize that I guess the difference between the control systems and your own little what's his name, the grasshopper in Pinocchio.
Jiminy Cricket.
Jiminy Cricket, your own Jiminy Cricket, your own conscience will tell you when you're feeling shame, you know, like if you listen to it. But as part of those control systems, we suppress our own shame in favor of that greater shame. We go like, oh, you feel bad about doing this? Well, you know, you should feel bad about feeling bad and you should do it. And then that's it. That's the social system for shaming.
But
what do they
also,
call Jiminy Cricket in French? Is he literally just Jiminy Cricket still? Come on, man. Killing me. All right.
That's awesome.
But that's the Disney name anyways. His real name isn't Jiminy Cricket.
all right.
Yeah,
So
totally
after like knowing we're like embroiled in the shame culture, it's like, what do you do about it? And I think it's like a 2-step process. First is the quote unquote healing or reconciliation, which requires mainly forgiveness, I think. Forgiveness of self and like the people who kind of screwed you over. And then I think a bulwark for like to guard against self destruction or self-sabotage would be gratitude. You know, like I can't think of anything else that'll prevent you from like going too overboard with something.
Gratitude does have its traps though, because people can just twist gratitude in their favor and be like, oh, I'm grateful that like I have, I don't know, this fetish or something, you know, like they'll just be grateful for their sins and their flaws. And then you have to have that. You have to have gratitude with wisdom, or else you're just going to use gratitude stupidly. Like, oh, thank you, master. You know, like, oh, look how grateful I am, master.
Well, this
you know,
is why I said it's a 2-step process. You can't really be all that grateful for life when you're carrying a lot of shame and fear and guilt and all that stuff. So that takes forgiveness and reconciliation. Yeah. And then you'll be freed up for the gratitude, because you got to deal with your old shit so you could like guard against further new shit, you know?
For sure. It's just don't let your gratitude shroud your capacity for critical analysis. You know, like that's basically the only caveat there.
Yeah, I mean that's gonna come regardless, you know, because like when you carry that baggage, right, it's like you're the one carrying it. No one's gonna feel that load besides, you know, you on your day to day. So it's like the question is, how unbearable is it? Like, how unbearable does your baggage become where you're just like, I got to deal with this, or something's got to change? Like something about my framework of reality is just wrong. And it's like causing my life every single day to just feel bad. So I think that's why it's important. You know, a lot of people do live like that. And like, I get interested in all the ways that you could kind of dig yourself out of that, like to throw up the black pill and to swallow the clear pill or the white pill.
Well, you know, first of all, fuck those pills. Those are just all ideological little
pills.
Those are little ideological traps that are formed in like weird meme space. But you know, I mean, I agree that it's just people fall into their modes, right? We have modes based on the type of environment we're in and the way that we're living our lives, and becomes these cycles of just repetition. And it's a neurochemical dance, you know, it's a self-balancing for your neurochemistry. So you have to be able to basically find ways to understand what you're doing produces what neurochemical, and then find an alternative that is better and healthier. Most people are trapped in these cycles, and they spend their time escaping the fact that they're harming themselves neurochemically through their cycles. They just cope with the cycle and it's causing the damage. So it's the vicious cycle.
Speaking
That's samsara.
Samsara, my favorite place.
Yeah, I could do this all day. You know, like, if I have to stay
I could do this all day, Samsara.
If I have to stay here, fuck it. I'm just gonna try to hang in there.
I mean, I think isn't the point of samsara that it's like, because there is no beginning and if there is no end, then there is no beginning. So life itself, like material life, has a beginning because it has an end. They're related concepts, but something without end has no beginning. So there's something before and after life, and so life is something that's part of the larger cycle, but everything is built on cycles, right? So there's not really any escaping the cyclic nature of everything. If there's no end, there's no beginning. There's no beginning, there's no end.
Well, it depends how many cycles there are. If there's like a higher cycle, you know, like from my perspective, samsara is like a soul washing machine where we're trapped in this reincarnation until we mature and get the fuck out of here, and then we can go on to something higher, or maybe we reach a higher dimension within samsara. I don't know, but
that's the thing, right? Like, isn't it that's like any material reality that you would be, any material form? There's no nothingness to be. Everything is create. Like, what's the word? Baruch, right? Creation is elementium, elements.
It could be that this is like a tier 1 samsara, and then we move on to tier 2 samsara, you know?
Yeah.
And it goes to tier 3 samsara. You know, in tier 2, we're fighting demons with superpowers. I don't know, but right now we're not responsible enough to have superpowers, so we're gonna be stuck drawing and spells.
We have like a material superpower. I think that's the thing. We have probably the same powers in different nuanced ways. So
yeah,
the
power of
fact that we're
imagination.
able to, yeah, but also like technology is an excuse to not value the power you have. Like the fact that we're right now talking all over the world in different continents, instantaneously communicating, sharing imagery. We're showing pictures of demons from ancient Tibet. You know, like, I mean, that'd be pretty cool to, if you could explain that to a person 500 years ago, they would definitely see that as basically magic. But we're able to, if we thought of it like that, we'd be so overwhelmed. It'd be like being on acid and looking at your own hand. You're just like, dang, my mind is moving this. Oh, like you can't even do anything with it because you're so self-aware of what's happening. You can be outside of it. So we're just using this materialism as an excuse to not be overwhelmed by the magic happening. We're like, yeah, this makes sense.
We're so immersed in magic that we can't realize that we're part of it. It's kind of like fish not realizing they're in water. You know, they're just so immersed.
That's it. Like, that might be it.
Yeah, because I think magic is just, it's innate to reality, and it's really a linguistic binding. Like there's an illusion spell on our society that has reframed magic into secular language, secular framework, and we can disenchant ourselves by just changing how we perceive magic. Because magic right now is defined as basically it's not real. That's the definition of modern magic.
It's almost like modern society is kind of like a filter or a break stop for our alchemical abilities. Yeah, for our alchemical abilities. It's blocking us from really using it, which I think is just pattern recognition. Like once you could understand the fundamental patterns of everything, then you could transmute shit. And I think that's what it was about. So I think, yeah, if you went back in time and it's like, how do I transform these apes into something that's going to build society? You'd show them pattern recognition. You would say, here's a green rock, here's a red rock, here's a green rock. What's the next rock? And then if they say the red rock, then you say, why did you pick the red rock? And then
it's like, pattern recognition comes with symbol creation, right? So then they start associating, okay, what does green rock mean versus blue rock? And then they have a meaning that'll be associated to it. You know, I mean, in the beginning was the word, right? Like God had Adam name all the animals, and before that they weren't even really real. They were sort of like this chaos of just togetherness that was undefined, uncategorized. The DMT elves say that you can speak shapes and things into reality. You can literally use language to create physical objects. I don't know. I mean, I've never done it in physical reality.
In the beginning, there was the word.
In the beginning was the word. So, you know, apparently we can do this. So if you access different frequencies combined with intent, then perhaps you can actually alter the code of the matrix to make it favor you. Like my approach is to synchro-mystic my way through life. So the alteration of probability through prayer, meditation, intent, sigils, even things like tarot cards, tea leaf reading, the I Ching, all these things. These are synchro-mystic tools to increase your probability and read the pattern. Well, music is like the great synchronizer. When you're listening to music and you're really paying attention, especially if you sing or dance when you're in the flow state, any flow state really, but the music is, it's the voice of the universe. So.
Well said.
Brilliant. I thought magic was the manipulation of electromagnetism.
There's types of magic, right? So it's all different types of magic. There's consciousness altering magic through language, through symbols. That's the basis of most magic. And I think there's a difference between the manipulation of the laws of physics versus the use of symbols and consciousness. It's like we create symbols to understand the laws of physics, like electricity, and then we create systems using symbols in order to manipulate those same thing.
Yo,
So
but
it all comes back to imagination and language being the structure of how we can frame reality and manipulate it. So
But that's
it
like
could
that's
be,
like
sorry, go on.
that's like Western magic, though. Eastern magic, I think, is a lot more embodied and more physical. Like, yeah, because either way, you have to work with patterns. But in the East, I think they're more about like, I'm going to embody this pattern, as in every day I'm going to practice this kung fu form, or it's like
Sure.
every day I'm going to eat a specific way, or every day I'm going to.
But those are all language transmitted.
Yeah,
Right?
but you still have
So
to do something, you know.
I
Like,
agree.
you
I
still have
agree.
to
I
do
mean,
something every day.
You know, it doesn't work in the West without action either. You know, like you can't be
Supposedly.
like, I want to win the lottery. So you create a spell to like increase your probability of winning the lottery, but then you don't buy a lottery ticket. Obviously, you're not going to win the lottery. You know, so you have to do the action and the thing. And in you know, the West is the Eastern magic systems. There's the whole chi system, right? So like accessing the pools of energy in your body to manifest through your physicality, alter your own physiology. Well, it's all the same. It all roots itself at like a sort of internal placebo effect of like, I believe so hard that I can do this, that you end up like changing will through sheer tyranny of will, changing the matrix code of yourself and your surroundings.
Well, it's also like I think it's also getting out of your own way, because one of the biggest blockers is the framework of modern society, which also, you know, contributes and reinforces your ego, your sense of individualism, your sense of like prizing your embodiment.
Right? Yeah. Illusions and delusions created by culture, cast by people who control media, people who control everything.
The magicians, the better warlocks.
In order to be a wizard or to be a magician, you do have to get out of your own way to the extent that you can. The thing is that we're all under a mass spell. We're all under many mass spells. So you undo one, you have to undo another, and then you find that there's a chain of spells. And you know, like, once you actually, sorry, go on.
Earlier, like how I'm going over ChatGPT and all the things people have used to manipulate it. I wish there would be one of like magic. Like this is what I've used magic for and on, and hearing like interesting stories of what they used to do.
Sure. There's probably a Reddit for that. It's probably subreddits about magic and all that. You know, there's a lot of magic communities that talk about these things very seriously. But anyone who looks at them, it sounds silly because it requires so much belief that a lot of people do fall into delusion when it comes to magic, because they don't even understand it to start. They don't understand language. They don't understand how language affects consciousness. They just follow a template. They go like, oh, I'm Wiccan, or I watched the Craft or whatever, and then they imitate magic spells. They don't create their own. It's like it becomes chaos magic, where when you create your own magic system, when you understand that you can form your own language and everything.
Yeah, Julia, do you think of magic? Do you think of, I mean, someone asked earlier about remote viewing. Do you think of remote viewing as at least a kind of magic? I know it's like a technology, but
dude, it feels magical. But that also, like, I mean, where are we that we're able to do that? Like, what type of program or system are we in to where you can, like, I could literally, I could enter the room and witness things that happened in 1996 in France, in where I was in Laguna Beach. Like, it seems pretty magical.
I have a theory.
Huh.
My theory is that all points in space and time are already connected through consciousness. So when you're able to step aside and let your intuition, I guess, take over, then it's just plugged into the everything, what it's all connected to.
We are everything everywhere all at once, right? So
yeah, isn't a lot of the remote viewing process involves like relaxing to this like brainwave state where it's almost like your conscious mind steps aside a little bit.
Yeah, like of getting your brain to the theta. I always say like just get your mind into the theta brainwaves, but you're in this like receptive mode. So it's just like a bit tinkering with that, and that's why like the Monroe Institute, where you play one frequency in the right ear and one frequency in the left ear, and then the hemisync. So it's just about getting your mind to that point where you are receiving, and then being specifically like directing your consciousness. But like I said, like, where are we at though? Where are we? Is this a program? What is this place?
You know, more and more I start thinking about that, because I've been arguing with these religious people a lot recently, And a lot of people will focus on, the idea of ex nihilo, like everything comes out of nothing. But there's really no precedent for this idea of everything out of nothing. I mean, we talked about this for a second, Vincent.
One free miracle.
Yeah, there's also that creation, like the Jewish word that they use for creation, barat, means to organize. So it doesn't say like God created the heavens of the earth. It says God organized, and it also doesn't say God, it says the Elohim. So the Elohim organized the heavens of the earth out of element. So it's completely different than saying, out of nothingness came this new thing. It's that things were materials that were organized together. And from that came creation. So that was a beginning. So that's what like the creation of the beginning is, which concludes that there will be an ending, right? But that means that the beginning and the ending are inside of something bigger, which might be Promethean or some sort of Titans. They talk about originally the Hellenists, the Greeks, they talk about Titans and natural chaotic chaos. Out of chaos, things were organized into the Alpha and the Omega, but that there's still something that's organizing them together to make our reality. So our reality itself is something that's is transmutating, and we have no end or any beginning if that's the case. Like all intelligences or all energy are infinite in that respect. It's just that the way that they're organized together changes, right?
Sounds good to me.
Well, I mean, it just changes. Yeah, it changes the way things are looked at then, because if we pretend that things come from nothing, then there's just a conclusion that there's nothing we need to really look at before this happened. But if things were a way before, if there was chaos before, then we have to see like what are the pieces that came together to make us into what we are, which I think that kind of is like Julia said about like this idea of simulation. That's interesting because maybe then we're created by some sort of a creation, like a thing that's in like interim its own creative process as well. Because a lot of these religious people will say like God is impermeable or never changing, non-reflective, has no growth, right? Like a lot of these religious people don't believe God has any growth, that God doesn't reflect, that God doesn't learn, because God knows everything already, right? But that's not the case if they're a growing being or that they're a growing experience that is organizing.
So in Mesopotamian mythology, Tiamat is the primordial sea goddess, and it's like a dragon, basically the dragon of chaos, and it gets killed by Marduk, and out of pieces of it he creates reality. And so chaos is the undefined, and then when we linguistically bind it, our brains are able to process what it is basically, and then we form a reality around this, and so our reality becomes altered. Like reality, when we don't have things linguistically binded, our brain struggles to make sense of it, and some people will have completely different experiences of that thing. If they compare phenomena by drawing or by things, sometimes it'll be completely different until we all agree on a name, and then it becomes sort of like a weird culture. It becomes categorized as a culture, like.
One of my favorite examples of reconciliation with God was in the ending of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. It was crazy because
great movie, a great series.
Yeah, he sees God at the end, and he was like, "All right, what are you going to sacrifice to bring your brother back?" And he decides to sacrifice his alchemy, basically his closeness, his connection, or his embodiment of the God-like ability to be able to transmute and create. And he said, "Are you sure? Are you willing to give that up just so you could bring him back?" And he's thinking to himself, he's like, yeah, like with like friends and family like this, like I don't need alchemy, I have everything I need. And that's the correct answer, because to God is like, God became human for a reason, and it's like not really knowing, because God already knows everything. So he's like, I came here to experience others, I came here to experience people and life, and I thought that was a really beautiful thing.
What's funny in Full Metal Alchemist, basically alchemy is a stand-in for technology, right? For computers, for guns, weapons, even if those things also exist, they functionally serve the same function. And so him giving it up is basically him giving up, like, okay, you're a demigod, basically. And so would you give up being a demigod to be a human? And his answer is yes, of course, because even without that demigod power, you still have the power to ascend as a human and to do alchemy, regular alchemy, without the weird magic of, like, you know, every time you enter a kitchen, you're doing alchemy. Every time you brush your teeth, everything. There's so many little parts of life that are alchemical. So it is a great ending, and it doesn't, like, it's the best outcome, I think.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the entire point of alchemy is to reach the golden state of being, right? It's to convert lead to gold. And so these characters they all have the powers of gods, basically, but they don't have the enlightenment behind it. They're not gold. They're lead wielding weapons of mass destruction. So when he actually makes that choice, he actually reaches a higher state of consciousness and a higher state of understanding that he doesn't need to have this supreme power. This supreme power has a function, but ultimately you're better off just living life and really being right here with your family instead of trying to cast spells and kill your entire family and shit.
Yeah. I thought it was beautiful too.
Yeah. Like, if the technology interferes with the normal state of being, with the normal order of things. And so if you remove it, we will return to that old order in order to survive. Tribes,
What's up?
people caring about each other.
What's up, Andrew? How's it going?
Hey, howdy. Sorry I'm late. I just got done with work. Oh, what?
Nice haircut, dude.
Nice haircut. You look fresh.
Yeah, it was getting a little hot, so I still got the long shit, but
Nice.
Classic.
my 1-year-old kept on like pulling on my hair.
It
And
looks
like,
ancestral, bro. It looks ancestral.
yeah, you know, I needed some more ready hair.
That's also kind of like having kids is kind of a godly thing, right? Going from 0 to 1.
Creation.
Yeah, making a whole ass human soul.
There's
Yeah.
nothing. Sorry, go on.
I would akin it sort of to, because you have to worship this thing that is very like abstract. It's totally, well, it's real, but you know, it's it can't offer you anything. It really, it provides nothing. It is just 100% a liability, and you have to nurture it and, you know, worship it and give it offerings. So you have to,
Because you know why? When kids are born, they're closer to their godly demigod state before like becoming embodied. So as they develop, then they'll get the baggage of life and become more solidified into a.
It does give you something, though. It does give you something. So I'm just reminding you, you do get something out of it that you might not notice in the moment, but that's doing some magic tricks in your brain right now that, like, eventually you're gonna whoa.
oh, for sure. Especially since I stand to learn a lot more from my children than I ultimately have to offer them, because my experiences are going to be proportionately more limited than theirs, just because of the type of the world that they're going to grow up in, and like the way that they view the present is going to be colored by a different past. So, you know, I have all of my past experiences that are filtering everything that I'm perceiving presently, and their filters are going to be completely different. So
I hope you don't show them a bunch of TV too early.
You know, I mean, I think it really depends on the type of TV. Like,
No, I mean, like, TV with
animes are
commercials and all that, you know.
oh,
They don't make that anymore. You just keep the iPad out of their hands. No YouTube for sure. That's
Yeah.
wrong.
Well, they also did a study that there's like a differentiation between like a large screen and a small screen having an effect on children, and
Right.
like handheld devices have a worse effect on their mental growth.
I can imagine.
It's so crazy.
But it's like it desocializes. You know, like a screen is a shared experience. When the bigger it is, the more shared it is. The smaller it is, the more it's like it's my world. You know, like, so kids will fall into that, like, it's my little device. It's mine. You know.
100%.
Yeah, you got to get a desktop. Everyone has to get a desktop.
To get a projector.
Oh shit.
Sure.
Make it so
Projector-
complicated they can't use it on their own. You know?
No, the projector is really useful because instead of staring into the screen, at least they're looking at a wall that's being hit with light. I think there's something about that for sure that's better than just
I'm being
staring
serious.
right into it. Yeah. I mean, the more complicated you make it, the better, though. Also, like, make your kid have to like root Linux every time they want to use anything. They should have to install Linux.
It'll make them
Linux
really
sometimes.
clever. They'll become better at solving puzzles, at problem solving, all that stuff.
Frameworking.
And just hide the drugs really, really well, because eventually they'll find them. You know.
So, do you think like social media also? How do you feel about your kids having access to social media? Like, is that an easy, like, evil Instagram that's forcing them to materialize themselves and sell themselves or market themselves, or is it like a degraded form of collective consciousness that's beneficial because then they're aware what others are going through? Like, what do you think about that?
I think it's a new frontier, and it's not so much tangible or physical, like a physical place. It's just psychological, It's gonna be dangerous. It's dangerous as fuck. People have lost their lives because of like social media antics.
I agree.
And
I
where
think
there's
like any
danger,
other
there's
tool,
exploration.
It really depends on. Yes, no, totally. It depends on how you use it, because certain social media, depending on how you use it, can be to transmit transmit information, But especially with like this new age of like AI slop, they're going to have to develop a keener skill for differentiating between organically generated content and AI.
You have to give them the tools to be able to navigate these places and explore, because they won't not explore. You can't be like, hey man, don't go ever on Instagram or whatever. Some kid somewhere in your house is going to be like, hey, I'm going to go look up the forbidden, So you just have to prepare them to be able to handle the forbidden in a way that is healthy and doesn't make them spiral into it,
Yeah, like they'll have to learn that these videos are AI generated, right, or something.
These are okay. So I just saw this and I thought I'd throw it up there. So
Jumanji.
Oh yeah. Now that I see it, it looks yeah, okay. So what does anyone know why people are posting shit like this?
Because it grabs people's attention.
Yeah,
This is
it's novel.
191,000.
Just for the clicks? Okay.
It's novel,
yeah,
basically.
of course. And the real question is like, why do people react to these things? And that's the real interesting thing, is they've taken videos that train that people liked, and they're using that to make videos that are collages of things people are engaged by, and it's making everyone want to look at it more. And they're just for a second at a time. Like the more information that you can get people to care about, because right now people are less and less interested in things, right? Like the people are so jaded. Kids have seen so much, they're not going to watch anything for long anymore. Most of these kids can't watch a 90-minute movie. They can barely watch a 9-minute movie, like a 9-second Vine. That's for a minute there, they got it down to the 9-second Vine. I think that's really the answer for most kids.
But it's strange because, like, it does feel like there's an acceleration.
Yes, acceleration.
There's an acceleration of absorption of information, of media, and before, media wasted our time even more. Now it's more efficient in its wasting of our time, but back then it would literally it would pad run times. It would literally artificially inflate the length of video games, because they were like, a game needs to be 100 hours plus or something. Literally just grinding is the essence of wasting our time, basically. And that is what media had us doing for a long time. Now we're grinding through high levels of media, basically. And it is doing something to our brains, but I think
what I think it's doing? I think it's making our sense of time like speed up. I think it's making the day shorter. Like the more efficiently we waste our time, it's just like literally days are just passing by before we know it. Yeah.
Well, there's less time there's less silence. There's less time for the subconscious to work its thing. So everyone should be meditating after any extended media use. Like end your day with 10 minutes, 5 minutes of 2 minutes, 30 seconds of meditation is better than nothing. Just silence and let your subconscious work in overdrive for a bit, and then it'll solve so many of your stresses and anxieties and stuff. Do it. But I think that like there's an aspect of media that we have to be processing, because I think that the media is codified with truths, and there is plenty of actual archetypal copyable behaviors that are positive in media. And the problem is the disparity between them. People can't link, say, The Matrix and Terminator meaningfully. Just two examples, but there's so many stories that are interconnected, but they're separated by corporate copyright, or even just the fact that the people are not consciously connected to it. The artists making it, they're not fully aware of it. But it's like there's a web of coded truth across media, and the more people consume it, the more they're becoming aware of it, the more they're recognizing the connections and talking about them. The amount of reels that are basically condensed versions of videos that were around exposing the truth 20 years ago, now it takes you 2 minutes to learn about the Illuminati bloodlines and like all that shit. Before, it would take like 10 hours of research to get to like even close to the answer. But it's synthesizing all these answers into these packages that are just easy to consume, as well as all the bullshit,
Julia, you use Instagram, I've seen, and I know you have a TikTok as well. Like, do you think that like how do you feel about the rapidity of available information now? I mean, things have changed a lot since we were, watching like TV in the 90s. Like, things have changed so much, and you have access to everything. Do you think it's helpful? Like, do you think it's good? Are there benefits to it, or do you think it's dangerous the same way they're talking? What do you think?
Like he said, I think some people are like, hey, man, we had to go through a process of learning this stuff and finding out and researching, and then having to find this, and that. And now I think some people are a little maybe territorial over, like, I didn't have to go through all that shit. Now you get it condensed in this small little snippet. So, like, yeah. I think some people are like, whoa. That's kind of a hack or whatever, but how that affects, like you brought up a good point of the subconscious of, because these things are being fed in so fast, like where is how is this going to affect what is created? Like now you're being bombarded. It's like desensitizing your senses. And so now I heard that's another thing is like they want, can I say pedophilia on here? They want pedophilia to be common knowledge, and so having it come out, and then to the point where it's desensitized and common, like, and accepted, and you're lowering your resistance to it, and it's coming more heard subconscious and talked about, normalizing it.
Hyper normalization, basically.
But like the subconscious of like what you don't, our subconscious mind is like 30,000 times more powerful than our conscious mind. So if all these gnarly things are now being like clipped and we're absorbing that, how it's affecting people's subconscious, like you said, and if people are not meditating, what's going to show up? I mean, they're being condensed of
Neuralink. We're gonna have Neuralink.
Well, there's an aspect of MK Ultra that is trauma programming, right? And so in the reels, sometimes you suddenly see something very, very shocking. Someone getting hit by a car, someone getting assaulted. The list goes on, and then immediately switch. Suddenly it's a different topic. Suddenly it's a completely different thing. Sometimes it's sex that further reinforces the trauma programming. And sometimes it'll just be like ideological rhetoric, political rhetoric. It'll be some people at a protest, whatever it may be. And so these systems are also part of that hypernormalization system that Julia was talking about, where they're programming people who consume it through this process of trauma. It's like hyper accelerated news media formatting, the news media
too, like even turning to porn, like porn. how the top rated thing is sister, brother, and how that's like, well, is this related? Is this like what's kind of showing up? Because like all these darker desires, or they get these suggestions, like where is that coming from?
Definitely not from Israel. No, sir.
whoever controls the media industry of porn has hyper normalized that whole stepsister fetishism thing, because it is trying to normalize incest at some point. And
Certainly
that is the conclusion.
not Rabbi Solomon Friedman, the Orthodox rabbi who owns Pornhub. He's got
That's who owns Pornhub. Oh my god,
he's got no weight in the game, right? Like who would want to get an entire generation addicted to cuckoldry and interracial and incestuous?
Yeah, well,
crazy.
also,
Crazy,
you can see there was a moment in time where suddenly porn started having a whole bunch of like ass eating, and then it was also coupled with hip hop that would talk about it a lot, and you could see the hyper normalization unfolding where it was just like, hey everyone, eat ass a lot, and then people started eating ass a lot.
Call me a hardliner, but I say starve the beast, yo. Just put it down forever. And it's think of it like
porn,
fasting. You don't have to look at it as a moral thing. Look at it as like fasting. You know, like the more you fast, the closer you get to God.
It's not about morality.
Is that where monkeypox is from?
Probably. It is about neurochemistry in the end. Like the goal of porn is to channel sexual energy into this direction so it doesn't spill out in the other directions. And fair enough. The problem is that it's a mass that keeps growing and growing, and then it spills out anyways. So if you're just gonna
a good new like app or whatever of getting people to go there for that, and then giving images of things you want to be created right before the most replayed or when people climax.
Yeah,
and
they're about to come, and all of a sudden it's just like Iran being bombed.
Like a Clockwork Orange, where that would be kind of brilliant. Oh my god, I love that idea.
As soon as like they're about to come on the face, boom, Epstein's list right there on the screen.
Epstein's list doesn't exist.
Visualize what you're trying to happen as they're climaxing. Timeout. That's brilliant. That's a brilliant startup. Let's do it.
I think it's
There's something there.
That the most searched thing on Pornhub is bloopers. So there is a silver lining there, that although there are these certain like,
it's true. The spirit of the jester is stronger than the spirit of horniness. Things are so funny.
Wait, what kind of bloopers? Like bloopers?
Like bloopers that are adult film bloopers.
Oh.
Someone.
Yeah, not Blumpkins.
Yeah.
That's way down the list. Way down there. It's like probably 8th. I think also porn though is like a
hope for humanity. Bloopers.
Porn is definitely like material visualization, so it's taking you away from the existential or the tactile sensation also. And so I think that that's a major reason why they kind of lure kids into it, because if you haven't had sex and then you see this, then you no longer have the natural drive to the sensuous feeling and touch aspect is something that's later instilled. So it's rewiring and reprogramming you to be using what you're already interested in, which is advertisement aesthetic. And it's using aesthetic, which is why, in physical sensation, you try to like touch each other a lot. But in pornography, you wouldn't do that, because if you touch each other a lot, you can't see what's going on. So if you notice with pornography, usually it's like the least amount of physical touch. It's just the genitals kind of bouncing off each other in order that the rest of the body can be viewed. So you do it at these angles, which are probably not the most fun kind of sensual experience, because you're getting less sensual experience, but that's so that you can be demonstrative of the physical aesthetic.
Oh my God, you're right. I never thought about a small amount of touch in those interactions.
Totally.
Wow.
Lack of intimacy, lack of true touch.
Lack of connection.
Yeah. The facial is another example. There's zero touch, but it's visual.
all sort of POV anything is very separate, very cold, and like women are boiled down to objects. They're entirely objectified, and then men are boiled down to having one object that matters, their dick, and everything else is just that's it. Here's the dick, pretend it's yours, and then here's the object. Look at it, and that's it.
What a fun game.
Terrible.
Yeah, but that's also a gateway because I think another major kind of we talked about like a major kind of pornography is cuckolding, and it's like a really hard, like highly searched kind of pornography. I think the reason is because if you spend your entire life watching other people have sex, what do you think is going to happen? Like at a certain point, like that's what you're into, rather than actually doing it yourself.
Well,
Right.
like searching, what is cuckolding porn? Like what?
Cuckolding is where a guy is in the corner of the room in a Superman costume, sometimes even watching his girlfriend with another guy. These days, often because of pornography, it's an interracial thing. They
Or
have
the
like
Diddy freak off.
The black
Yeah.
stud, or whatever you call it, the bull.
Right,
the
right.
bowl. They call it the
Well,
bowl, right?
it's-
Which
it's
is a
like-
Minotaur reference, right? The Minotaur.
Also,
Right.
like kind of like a
wife
Mandingo vibe, you know, the movie Mandingo.
King. No,
I don't know what that is.
Mandingo. I gotta know.
Never heard of
No,
Mandingo?
Well, Mandingo is the term for the slaves they used to make fight each other.
Oh,
That's
Yeah,
what a
and then there's-
Mandingo
and then there's
is.
this one movie I think about, or a story about this white chick.
Right.
who
This
fell in
is
love with
this is cuckold fetish porn. Right.
Yeah.
Expect
Really?
the Savage?
James Mason and Perry King. What?
Yeah.
Crazy.
I didn't know this was a fetish thing. Okay.
But yeah, what was I gonna say? Right.
James
Me and my
Mason, though.
me and my girlfriend were discussing that porn, when you overconsume porn, or when you consume it at all, but when you overconsume porn, it creates an impossible standard for your body, for your preference, basically. So you lose touch with your partner because you're always going to find the anima somewhere and going like, this is the anima that I wish I could bring. If I wish my girlfriend was the porn star or
I
whatever.
want you pop balloons in my face, baby. Yeah, baby.
That's your clown fetish. That's different.
Another thing is, I think a lot of people have are kind of divorced from physical activity, especially now that we lead more sedentary
Right.
lives. And one of the most effective outlets to pacify that like pent up population is probably just get them to masturbate and goon constantly. You know, like
Right.
if you get a bunch
Low
of males,
energy.
like military age males, just gooning constantly, chances are they're not going to rise up for a revolution.
Yeah,
or
well,
get in
it's that-
trouble.
It's what they were talking. I don't know where it was, but I heard this week and a few times. But it was saying that in nature, there's experiments that are done where they copy the mating preferences of certain animals and then create a synthetic version. And then the animals get so obsessed with that synthetic version that they neglect the actual females that are actually around. So like they'll take a butterfly and then they'll take the hue of the butterfly and make it so intense that all the male butterflies are attracted to it, and then they stop breeding, basically. So you create hyper versions of, basically it's ultra sex, right? You create hyper versions of female and male body anatomy, and then you make people become obsessed with the excess instead of appreciating what is actually in reality.
I had a really interesting conversation with someone where they were like telling me that ancient writings about that what an orgasm is, that it's something like entering
It's a mega sneeze.
that's
It's a
able
mega sneeze. A
Y'all
giga
messing with my
sneeze.
Kundalini?
that's able, like what even is that, but of tying it to something else that's able to feel that feeling. I don't know, it's not coming out right. I don't remember the writings.
I'm
No,
sorry,
I mean,
brought
I
the
think
giga sneeze.
I've heard of instances purely for research, by the way, that women have literally masturbated their way towards nirvana, like complete depersonalization and getting completely lost in the sensation where the
Right,
I no
well,
longer exists. Or
You
something of that.
can. The thing is that when you have there's moments where you can produce DMT while orgasming. If all the conditions are right, if your brain neurology is all perfect in that, we don't know what the mapping is there, but you can hypothetically have that moment of breaking free. It's like in the Matrix when the guy is running and then he breaks out of the Matrix for a moment.
I climaxed out of the Matrix.
He hits the peak of that that avenue of that direction, you know. And when you do, you can do it with anything. The peak of anything will help you break free from the previous paradigm and see reality in an entire new way. It's like when you become a master at guitar, suddenly it puts all music into perspective. Suddenly it puts all your previous creations into perspective. Same for any medium, you know.
I think it's worth noting that when men climax, parts of their brain actually shut down, and when women climax, like more parts of their brain are active.
I believe it.
Sure.
I believe it.
But I think I think you can use sexual energy is like mana, right? So you can use it in a positive way as a man. But if you keep basically, porn is like a succubus system that leeches off of your mana, while you could be using that energy for creative ends and for other things. Like you said, it shuts off parts of your brain. But if you build it up, then you can actually use it for something. Pardon?
Are you talking about edging right now?
No. What I'm saying is just naturally letting yourself build up. You don't need to touch yourself, but you can, of course. You can, you know, like you can do foreplay with your lover, and then you don't have to like come
There's
inside.
monks that will use women, and they look for particular women because in order to reach certain states, and you know, they're even trying to levitate, and they're like, oh, you got to go through a woman to do this, but they can't fully, like edging, that they do that, and there's these certain practices on these scrolls. They're heavily guarded about, you know, toying with that and doing this kundalini and playing with the kundalini energy, but that they need to use a woman to reach those states they were trying to, or if not, they have to go extremely disciplined, and it takes longer. So they found this hack of like doing certain sexual practices with women. I got a book. I haven't started reading it yet, but it's.
I've heard some weird.
It's sex magic, right?
Yeah.
You know, you think of like just the basis of like sacrificing a virgin. You know, like just the idea that there's a connection between the structure of reality and the woman is obviously undeniable. Women have matrices. That's what a womb is. So they are the ones who push out code from into the matrix. They literally create new life. So they're pushing out.
I would say the
little
most
code with
divine
bodies.
technology, like the most divine technology here, resides in between a woman's hips. That it's like the uterus, because it's a soul portal. Like
I think honestly, I can't only look at the female there. I think that the male and the female are both sacred, and that the phallus is just as sacred as the matrix.
Sacred phallus, huh?
Oh yeah. You know, like that whole scepter,
I understand phallus worship more than ever.
The wizard staff, the wand, you know, all these things. The mushroom, all of it.
If we're talking about value and like labor and production,
we're not.
What's more valuable, the filament or the 3D printer? Just
you're thinking like a capitalist. They need each other. You can't be like, this one has more value, this one has less value.
No, I get it. But also, okay, what has more value, the writer or the lead in the pencil?
No lead, no pen, no
okay,
paper.
Put it this, did you know that?
I don't know what to say, man.
Did you know that?
Look, the thing is that it's a mutual exchange of creation. I'm not a pencil, and she's not a paper. We are two sacred beings, and the recognition of our mutual sacredness is the true ascension of the collective. We can't be like, women are sacred and men are like bestial pieces of shit or something. Like no.
But in regards, purely in regards to breeding, purely in regards to breeding a population, I think there's a reason why the Orthodox Jews, they say it like, where if your mother isn't Jewish, then you're not Jewish. Doesn't matter if your dad's Jewish or not. It's the mother that makes the child Jewish.
You gotta raise them.
And also because it's like, you know, I guess one woman can only reproduce every 9 months, whereas a guy could theoretically inseminate like hundreds of women in a span of a few days. So I think that's a real biological, you know, ratio. Honestly.
You know, but you like it's like if we're talking about scale of impact, then like no females, no empires, no females, no lineage, obviously. But it takes one man to make a family tree, and that family tree can be so giant. It could be a forest. You know, like a man can make a forest of family trees. A woman can make one family tree. So I don't know. I don't want to compare values here because they're both immensely powerful, and it's all about how you use that power. And I think the problem with sexuality in our modern culture, well, through all of history, right, really, is that horniness is a consciousness altering state. Like it literally makes people make bad decisions. It makes them irrational, illogical, and they start forming spirals into their suppressed energy, and then they don't know how to channel it, and it ends off being vicious, and they have resentment behind it and all that. So like that's why post nut clarity is a thing. It's because we recognize that after you nut, suddenly your state of consciousness is no longer altered, and you're like, holy shit, what the fuck was I doing? All these tabs are disgusting. Close 30 tabs, So
It's deeper, like to what man
that was
contributes
really
to
specific.
the
Yeah.
exchange. Yeah,
I love it.
No, but you get what I mean. It's that
Yeah.
the problem with masculinity is that we do have that bestial side, and we have to figure out how to channel this in a healthy manner. Maybe pornography is not the healthiest manner, but it sure beats group orgies
Do
where you
karate.
have a victim or something.
or
Like,
jujitsu.
there's way worse ways that we could have opted to use sexuality, and pornography might be a desecration, but there's other worse desecrations, and
utilizing that to manifest things. And so they say, like, oh, you want someone to call you, or you want somebody to feel a type of way, like right before you release, you think about that. And so there's a lot of people that talk about that, like,
that's how
get you.
That's how you charge a sigil.
That's what, right? And I think that's why
Right.
the idea of this being a platform to where you can upload things you want to create right before that, I think it's brilliant.
Your friend's getting you a clown for your birthday hits different when you're older.
Damn.
Andreas is the one that exposed me to clown girls.
He's doing psychological damage subtly, but
Clown girls,
I
you
wanna
didn't know it, but your whole life you knew clown girls. You knew it your whole life. You didn't know you knew it, but you knew it your whole life. And I
Give me
think
the background on clown
this is the
girls.
psyop.
No, clown girls.
I'm obsessed.
There's too many themes to cover here. We'll be here for another hour or so.
Oh my
Like,
God,
don't
this
Clown girls is just the natural progression of makeup aesthetic, right? Because if you keep, like, especially when you're young and you start trying different kinds of makeup, girls will put more and more makeup on. They're using their mom's makeup, so often it's not the right exact skin tone. So then they'll put like more and more of it on, and eventually you're wearing all this makeup to look a certain way, which is different than the way you actually look. And at a certain point, that can become clown aesthetic.
So
right?
basically,
Right.
you're saying all women just look like clowns these days.
The thing is,
I mean,
that is exactly what he's saying, because like the thing is,
This makes me think about life, though, of like how we're our authentic self closest to God when we're really young, and then we try on all these different masks of like, oh, I'm a rebel,
True.
I'm a drug addict, and we try on all this bullshit to adapt, and then you come to the conclusion where you have to peel back all that programming of those bullshit
Shave your head.
facades
Meditate.
facades you came up with and tried on, and then you have to reprogram and delete all that just to get back to the original authentic version of you, which
Right.
these days, like the hero's journey, I call it the moron's journey of like
Mhm.
we try on all this stuff, but like this, I've never heard
The
clown
fool's
girls
journey.
yeah, the
like
full
that.
journey works. Yeah.
The fool's journey, for sure.
The morons.
We're
But I
just trying
think
to
that-
be who we were all along from the get-go.
Well,
But also trying to be something that you think someone else wants. Like we're all trying to be something that we thought we wanted to be that we're not, because that was something that was unattainable to impress somebody else. There's always a connection there, because there's a feeling of lack of self-worth because we haven't achieved the love or the admiration or the what's the word, when your parents the validation of your father or your girlfriend or your the boy at school, the girl that liked the other guy. There's whatever reasons that we're like, we need to be something that we're not. This leads, I think, to transgenderism, to cat boys, to
How we identify,
it's
how much
immigration.
so many of us identify with things we're able to do. Like, oh, Joy, you're a remote viewer. Yeah, I could do that. I do that. But then that being attached to that, or you are a hockey player, skateboard. Like how you
alchemist.
Part of those masks are just identifying with like, yes, I do that, or I did that a lot, or I can do that.
Yeah.
And then that being like a thing that we identify with when it's like, Really?
Well, I'd say you're not your cultural identity, and you're not even your experiences. You are the experiencer. So
You are the universe experiencing itself.
you can
What a
choose to
miracle.
define yourself however you want, and I think the clown sort of gets to the essence of the absurdity of it all, like the masks that everyone wears, the especially in porn.
Yeah, we
like,
could go deeper. I think we could go
But-
deeper.
but the thing is that it kind of points to that ridiculousness of like, oh, look, if you wear this thing, then people will find you beautiful. And it's like, no, look how false that is. I'm wearing clown makeup and people want to fuck me. It's a lie. We're not.
I mean, it
there's
is kind of
no-
hot though. There's something about
No. The thing
balloons.
is the reason that it's hot is because it's the inversion of values. You go, this is so absurd that like we're getting to the essence of what hotness really is. It's not the makeup. It's not the
absurdity. Absurdity is truth, because there is no truth. I mean, there's only during your lifetime you will never experience truth until you die, because
thing
your
is that
soul will leave your body, which is a lie, right? So truth
Absurdity-
is something absurdity.
The problem I think is that absurdity, when it's combined with nihilism, negates everything. And so absurdism as the hilarious meaning generator is far superior to everything is ridiculous and meaningless. So the clown is meaningful. It's a meaningful symbol that like you go, okay, this person understands something about like the absurdity enough to put on this costume and do this thing, while the other people, they're just playing the persona. They're just like, oh, I'm going to like. There's something that is.
I think that's really
clowns are meta,
When people
and that's why you're
own
that's why you're attracted to it, Andreas, is because it's meta, and you only get off on meta.
It's also super degrading, right? Like people talk about all the horrible, most degrading things you can do.
It's less
in pornography,
degrading,
and I think
less
it's like
degrading
putting
than
on.
regular porn.
I think just putting on a clown nose and honking it's like that's more degrading. That's like that gets to the root of really what you want, right? Which
Maybe,
is
but
someone to submit to like full defiling of their own like
The
pride
thing is that
and
but the clown evokes
lack of
play.
respect.
The clown evokes play, right? So it's like the person who wears the clown outfit, they go, look how absurd I am. I am absurd. I am a buffoon. I am ridiculous. And so they don't see it as, like the person who dresses themselves as a clown isn't embarrassing themselves. They're proud of being clowns,
Look, I think beauty is in the soul, and if you live in a way that has where you could preserve beauty in your soul, it's just going to reflect on your body, as above, so below, as within, so without.
Sure. There's people who go into porn trying to heal all the men who are fucked up in there. So they're like, I'm a hippie girl who's gonna go and like spread some light in the porn industry, and then whoops, same result, but I guess they spread a little light, so that's good.
There's nothing wrong with this, okay? Like you just haters don't understand. It's beautiful.
I love it.
I don't know. I think it's I think there's definitely it goes further. We did this. This was like an AI. It's one of the early AI generated clown posts, honk posting. But there are groups. There are totally groups on honk posting, and like basically one of the things you'll notice is that everyone who there's all kinds of women that have sexualized OnlyFans and every kind of Instagram model and everything like that. I feel like the clown girls are the most well-adjusted. No, I mean they're the ones who are fully aware of their demented ego issues or vulnerabilities to self-esteem problems.
Sure, it's it. They have a meta scope. Their scale is different. They can see a little deeper into the cultural bullshit, but it doesn't mean that they're not programmed by it, right? So they are the counterculture embodied, but to an absurd level. It's kind of like listening to Insane Clown Posse. You're just like, yeah, I know it's bullshit garbage, but they know it's bullshit garbage, and that's why they do it. They're like, look, we're clowns, murder each other.
What do you think is like a vital connector in collective consciousness and sustains that connection? Because we're using collective consciousness a lot when we talk about social media, and I think sexuality is something that is clearly being used for. I mean, it's one of the most searched for thing or different things that are connected to our sexual drive. So is the sex the vital connector, or what's the actual vital connector?
Energy. It's about the energy.
I agree. It's about energy, because sexual energy, I think it's like it's a neurochemical thing, right? That when you're a teenager, you are destabilized by the influx of all these hormones, and your neurochemistry goes wild. And then as you get older, you're supposed to be taught how to channel this energy in a healthy manner. And most people before, they used to get a wife when they were 18 to between 15 and 18, like that's what most people would do. And now we go, no, we push it further and further back and further back. And then we make it awkward in between. We go, we don't want to talk to teenagers about sex. Here's a bunch of porn, and so they don't have any real teachers. They don't have any real lessons except for porn. And then it becomes fetishes and becomes this weird shit. But there was always weird shit, of course. If your parents teach you sexuality, it's bound to become weird. So it's a pros and cons kind of problem. What you do, we're trying to take back our sexuality. Well, you're going to have to make the hard conversations happen. And we're going to have to readjust the boundary between what is acceptable to discuss between teenagers and adults.
I think the conversations being hard only happens because of, again, like an internal negative state. So you have like shame or guilt or somewhere attached, or fear even attached to, say, your own sexual habits. Like it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to like look your kid in the eye and talk about sex when you're gooning to like the most terrible shit on a daily basis. And it's like, that's become the norm. So yeah, it's going to be really tough to like have that combo.
It's a boundary issue, right? Like, it's hard to make that boundary healthy, where you're like let's say you get out of a metro, and then you see some guy in a trench coat and he flashes you, like that's his kick. Okay, that's his sexual thing that makes him happy. It doesn't really harm you. You just see some dude and then you go, oh fuck, I didn't want to see that. So there are boundaries that are necessary, because sexuality is like a little universe of your own. It's your own little private world, and this private world isn't shared lightly. Like the social shaming is one thing, but it's a compatibility issue as well. Like you can't just be like, hey, you don't like that shit, well I like that shit, so you put up with it. Like no, keep that shit away from me. Go do it where you want to, but like not in public, not in places.
But that's the whole point of the thing, man. Like he's taking away the whole. It isn't just that he likes wearing trench coats. The whole point is that he's trying to be to force a reaction, or to have a reaction, I guess, from strangers.
The thing is that sexuality didn't have boundaries before. Like when we were 10,000, 50,000, however thousands of years ago, the boundaries were, well, you're in a cave, and if you go outside, you see a bunch of animals fucking everywhere. You're going to see naked people walking around. These ideas of sexuality are cultural. Clothing is cultural, and it creates this sort of idea of what is appropriate and what is not appropriate. And we do have to rethink these boundaries, because it's not appropriate for teenagers to be watching porn every fucking night and jerking off 4 times a day, but somehow like seeing some nudist somewhere is like the end of the world. Like there's a weird separation that's going on, and I think that separation is preventing honest discourse. We can't talk about porn properly.
Yeah, so like flashing only exists because of Calvinism and Puritans, right? Because if you didn't have puritanical, like as a kid, I used to be told about Adam and Eve in church and school, and I hated going to school mainly because I had to put on all those clothes, which I wasn't into, like especially collared shirts and things like that. You have to duck it in. It's like and you go to school, and then and that's why Adam and Eve ate the fruit of knowledge, and that's why you're ashamed to be naked. It's like, wait, what? I'm not. I'm ashamed to be here. I'm ashamed to be in a room with you idiots. I don't want to be at school. I want to be naked. Let me go back home where I can sunbathe all day long, because I love being naked. I've been really good at it all my life. 6 years of just doing that as much as possible. I don't need to be in school. Right. And I think I've spent more than half of my life naked, and I'm a big fan of that. I'm not saying everyone needs to be a nudist. If you want to cover up, and a lot of people should, that's completely reasonable.
Right.
But this idea that we're trained to believe in this shame thing, if you just, instead of having that religious class, you had nude art class, like sketch art, where you bring in some fat, hairy homeless person, or like the lady who works at the.
I did that. I mean, I
There you
drew
go.
them. I didn't.
Oh no, I'm more of the. I'll just stand around there naked in the middle of the community college
Until
class.
someone draws you.
Yeah, please draw me, everyone. And at a
Please.
certain point, draw me like one of your French girls. Yeah, I think that's the way to do it. I think if you did that instead of teaching people these like harsh, nonsensical, religious, mythological, anti-sex myths, then people would probably be like, who would care? Some guy walks out and just like flashes you, and you're like, eh. And I think that would take
Yeah,
away
it's better.
from.
I think that's a
Yeah,
very
like,
American thing too, because they've got nudity on the news in Europe, and it's like
they
the
got
U-
nudity everywhere in Europe.
Well, there's
yeah.
a sensitization, like we were talking about sensitization before, but really what it is it's programming, right? So we are programmed to have appropriate times to see sexuality, to be immersed in it versus inappropriate times, and there does need to be a boundary for that.
Hold on,
But
there's
when
sexual
sorry.
nudity, except what you do in your mind. Like
That's what I'm saying.
In East
That's what
Germany,
I'm
you have a
saying.
thing called
Nudity, you know,
Freikorper culture.
there's a desensitization that happens from being exposed to sexuality and to nudity, where your brain starts desexualizing. Like, let's say you're a bouncer and you work in a strip club. If you see 300 girls per week, eventually you're like, okay, I've seen them all. After a couple of months, you're gonna be like, fine, like it's a pair of tits, whatever. You know, your brain starts getting used to it, and then you can handle nudity without losing your mind. The people who can't handle nudity are those who are heavily suppressed, and then the moment they see some girl, they go fucking nuts, and they're like, oh my god, she is like a boob crack or something. So they can't handle it. I think there's a balance to be had between the exposure of reality and being desensitized to natural parts of reality versus just channeling this energy into a way to program it so that you're like, you can only do it at this time of day with this thing and time, like see these things. And because we're separating, we're dividing like everyday life with dividing between sexuality and nudity, and it's making people overly obsessed with nudity.
Nudity.
Well, so in
You're
Germany,
muted.
in East
You're muted,
Germany, you can't hear me? Hello? Is it working now? Hello?
Andrew was.
I was just agreeing. I just shook my head. It didn't require noises. Yeah,
I was going to say, in Germany, you have freie Körper culture, basically, which means frei is free, Körper is body culture, free body culture. And yeah, it's not sexualized for a lot of decent reasons. I mean, if you ever seen a naked furry Bavarian, you're not gonna. It shouldn't inspire you to want to you should not be aroused. And if you are, you have more problems than me.
The universe is balanced between hot things and gross things.
Don't get me wrong. There are some pretty Saxons out there, but the point is the same. People can go to the beach. You take off your bathing suit to go jump in the water. I'll wear shorts all week long until I go swimming, and I'll just take off all my clothes to swim here. It's freaking paradise. You don't need to wear clothes if you don't want to. And the only people that think you need to wear clothes are, Muslims. But other than that, it's like Christian, it's religious fundamentalists essentially that are sexually controlling you. And they're thinking, okay, what we'll do is we'll make you so ashamed of everything that is connecting to other people that we can sell it to you, either by you buying it on a credit card on a website, or you can, sign up to get married in a church, or you're in the military, so we'll bring you through a brothel. Or basically they're licensing nature. They're making it, a license means the ability to do what you're otherwise not allowed to do. So they give you the privilege to have access to your own nature. And I think that's super scary, because they're tying it especially to this religious idea that this is why you're ashamed. You're ashamed of your body, and you should be ashamed of your body. And that makes you, I think, also, shame is clearly tied to kink. We're back to the beginning of this conversation where we talked about shame culture. Shame culture is clearly tied to kink, because it's like, hey, I'm ashamed, so I need to liberate myself of my shame by streaking or freaking people out. Flashing, I think, is the one, right? Like that seems like it's only born out of shame culture. And maybe so many things are that people are wrestling with, that they're trying to deal with their shame.
Mm-hmm.
Synthetic shame.
Shame on it.
Shame on you all. Yeah.
No, I was gonna sing a song, but I don't want to say it.
But if we stay ashamed,
shame on it something with an N word.
We
Oh.
make really good consumers, you know, because we're constantly trying to
Nietzsche.
alleviate our negative stuff with
Shame on a
products, clothes, ideologies, cultures. I mean, I basically I'm saying we shouldn't understate the effect that shame has on all of us collectively and how it really does sustain so many institutions,
Sure.
so many economic frameworks. Like we need shame almost to make the world go around, as we know it. That is, maybe it'll fundamentally change during the second coming of Christ. Who knows?
Sure.
Yeah,
You know,
shame, a form of
shame is
think about it.
a form of debt. Sure. Social debt.
Yeah. So all we got to do is reconcile, and to reconcile, we just have to fast from sex, try not to eat as much, drink some water, practice gratitude.
And fast from sex if you're a virgin.
That's true too.
You're gonna masturbate.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Back in a second.
Alrighty.
Well, I mean, let's see. The other question I had written one down here. Okay, true designs of the heart. So, Julia, at some point you talked about the true designs of the heart. Do you have any thoughts on the true designs of the heart?
Like, you mean the like 3 chambers and all that, like, and
I think both the 3 chambers, like, so the physical true design of the heart, but also like how it connects to like consciousness and soul development. Like, so the heart's not really, you've talked about how the heart's not really a pump, it's a vortex, right? So how do you think it worked? What do you think the value is? I mean, the ancient Egyptians and Sumerians always used the heart as something that's like a vortexing engine for the soul, right? What do you think about that?
I was talking about this with Johnny, actually. He was we were talking about Dark Star, and he's like, what is your, like, what did your favorite memory or something that he said or told you? And I was like, well, he really taught me how to speak from the heart and live from the heart. And when he did things, he did it from there. But my favorite thing is telepathy. If you want someone to receive a message, you go and you drop into your heart, like, but you do it. You send the telepathy in between the heartbeats. So when the heartbeat goes out, it sends it because it is an electromagnetic field. Like, and I tried it. So he told me this in like 2020 or 2021. And I used it when I was in Palm Springs for Contact in the Desert. And within 20 minutes, the message I sent out was like received, and I got a call right away, like a call 20 minutes later about it. It worked. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. But utilizing the heart, and I don't know, I think that we're taught too that if we're very open from our heart, and if we, like, people are reckless with hearts, we can all agree on that. And so I think we do a facade, or we put up a toughness, or like, what, I don't care, but like we do. And so, but is to speak from the heart as much as possible. I don't know, I'm kind of getting off on
I think like one of the mysteries to add on to that is like they have all these like cases of doing experiments with water. Like when you say nice things to the water before you consume it or serve it, or say mean things to it, I think that comes from the heart. I think it's like how that energy, that unseen, weird 5D energy, I guess, that emits from your heart center, the center of your entire vortex, you know, that's just like emitting out. I think that's what affects those mysterious instances, like charging your water or whatnot.
Yeah, the whole water thing too, of the Vita Austin's work, where it's showing you, like, she asked the water a question, or would say, like, at first she would bring photos of like a French braid or a wedding. By the water, she put a wedding invitation, and then when she froze the water and then took a picture of it, it had a wedding ring. Or she like asked it a question about her mom had passed away, and when she froze the water, it was her initials the way her mother wrote it. So like, that's, I don't know, that's amazing.
So it's like Moana,
right? Where it's like, what is the field? Some people would say it's like plasma, you know, like what's accessing the water or capturing it. But yeah, like being able to ask it a question. Like, it's so much more than just programming crystals that are charging it with frequency, that there's a two-way conversation happening that shows up in the water.
I think it happens everywhere though, because I think you can if you really really try, you can probably come into contact with something through intention and through paying real attention. You know, like through the intention and attention. So if you like, I don't know, if you're feeling like, okay, I want to talk to an angel or like some multi-dimensional entity, you can be like, hey, ask a question to the universe and then look for answers. And maybe it'll answer, you know, often it does. People just don't pay attention. The answers are codified all around us mostly. We just don't really notice.
That's what I think, like, honestly, like things like tarot and astrology is really about. It's tapping into that. The subconscious already know, like the collective subconscious already knows everything. All you're doing is just kind of suspending that disbeliever within you to kind of accept the everything, the knowledge and wisdom of it.
You know, like
you kind of get glimpses of it.
You guys are talking about water, altering water through speech, right? So like using the frequencies and intentions behind words to change the molecular structure of things. And like that's connected to me. It connected to, in my mind, like the idea of, like you said, using the tarot or other means, like say reading tea leaves, because the idea is that as above, so below. Inside the micro is contained the macro. Everything is contained within the atom. And so you can look at tea leaves and you can see the totality of all reality contained within it, because everything is everywhere all at once. So you can look through the tarot to see a mirror of reality, because it is all atomically contained within that.
Did you all see that study about how climate affects the way that the inhabitants develop spirituality? That is to say, like people who live in desert climates tend to develop more monotheistic spiritual practices, and then
what about Egyptians?
For like jungle dwellers, and might have
Egypt wasn't a desert very recently, you know.
Sure. Yeah, that might be related to the water thing, you know, as far as like being able, like humidity means that you could have like a different relationship with the spiritual realm because you're just surrounded with water.
The sun is the only god in the desert, right? So.
Yeah.
Well, maybe, but you know, I think it's probably just depends on the people. There's wicked gods in the Badlands, you know, like
Andreas.
There's people who worship weird shit.
Can you pull up a chakra point map? I want to see what the heart chakra is represented.
The Anahata chakra. Okay, hold on.
I like referencing this thing because it's
that is to say, in the desert would also be much more valuable.
We want to see this one, or what are you looking for?
I mean, like they gotta represent something, right? Or be.
You can ask what each one represents, and
whoa, that's a lot.
Well, it's like a Dr. Bronner soap container, yeah.
There's a few hundred chakras. So.
Love, forgiveness, compassion, self-esteem.
Well, I like the
center of unstuck sound. That's interesting.
The vortex thing's really interesting.
So yeah, sorry. I was gonna say real quick. The idea is, I guess you gotta channel it from going from the bottom to top, and then let the whole energy flow through you. And if you have blockages there, and I guess with the heart especially.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You can watch the Avatar show. It'll give you a quick rundown of how to.
Yo, no lies, that show put me down a path. Like that episode, the specific episode where Aang was like releasing each locked chakra. I was like, this is real stuff. Like
yeah. The swamp episode as well. I showed my friend the swamp episode, and he was like, "Okay, it's maybe the best show ever
mushrooms
made."
in the desert.
What show is this, Vincent?
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, okay.
It's the greatest up there.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. It's definitely an interesting show. This idea that he's the avatar who has, you know, a reincarnated soul. It's like 1,000 or 100 at least avatars that have come before him that are leaping through body.
Yeah. Well, it's a great sort of mapping of like spirituality for a lot of like it's easy to absorb and it's great for children. Like it's one of the better shows in that regard.
Yeah,
The fact that this show exists gives me hope in culture. Really, I mean,
I like that the show
culture's
is
not my
made by,
friend.
I like that the show is made by white people. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. I like that. You know,
Made by an Italian guy, I think Dante.
Dave Filoni,
is that
who did Star Wars. Well, he wrote like some of the better episodes, at least. Dave Filoni, who did Clone Wars and Mandalorian. He's like a Star Wars Lucas Ranch guy.
Well, it also has Rufio in it though. Avatar is
True, and he died recently.
Rufio? No.
Didn't he? Yeah. I thought he passed away. Am I wrong? Or Dante Brasco? Is he still alive? Oh, that's great. I'm from the timeline where he already died. I'm glad he's still alive.
Green Ranger died.
That's true. He did die, and that was sad.
Sorry, no, he didn't. If Rufio died, I would have been mad.
That would have been.
What a guy! Can you imagine this guy? What a name! He has a shamanic face and voice. You listen to him, and you're like, this is such a weird character of a person, you know.
Well, what about we talked about? Maybe this is like called Gnostic Child's Play. What do you think about maybe illusion? Because we talked about how it's cool, maybe that magic is being pretended to be technology, so that it's easier to focus on what we're trying to get done, right? Like we're just able to have our conversation. But what about like other things or material illusions, like the archonic demons or something that are making it difficult for like the glamours of evil? So we're what else do you think about in terms of false perception and perception of creation? Maybe
depends how far up the scale of creation we're going here. Are we going like the programs or the programmers or the gods in the programmer's world? How far up are we going?
Honestly,
how different are we from the gods? Like a lot of these religions say that the gods are big versions of us. Even like Judaism and Christianity, like Jesus says, "Ye are gods." The Psalms says, "Ye are gods." Like, are they really that different from us, or is that a way from us, like kind of like pretending our parents are different?
I think the real spirits and demons are patterns. And the patterns are the thing, like the meta thing that pretty much governs us, like the lowercase g gods. And they're good patterns, they're bad patterns, and you can choose to embody them, and you'll either get their blessings or their curses. Like if you follow the pattern of, say, eating healthy or exercising or practicing gratitude, if you make these things the pattern, you kind of like adopt that spirit. And I think that's what the ancients were kind of like onto.
Well, the thing is that I think that there's a physical manifestation of that as well. So what you're describing manifests itself into reality mostly through people. So
and nature. I think mostly nature, like the patterns of the seasons, for example.
Sure, but like those weren't necessarily gods or demons. I mean, the nature, like we did worship them as those things. So it's like the ideas of those things becomes gods, right? So like we worship the sun because we're like, the idea of the sun is so cool. Let's make a god out of it. But at the same time, the main attribute of what defines a god as a god is a power gap. The higher the power gap, the more likely something will be seen as a god. So if you're like looking at a rock star that is so good at rock, suddenly he becomes a rock god because you suck so hard at rock, But to other rock stars, he's just some dude. So same thing for power scaling in alien life forms or in scaling power for entities that are multidimensional. Like the level of influence, who knows how far up that actually goes. Maybe there is a realm of pure syntax and just pure undefined things that take up as pure thought forms. But in that realm, the archon, like you were saying, Andreas, or even the demiurge, like these concepts they might just be copes, they might just be ways that we've convinced ourselves that like our fate is worse than it is, and we have to have these devils to contend against. But at the root of it all, we just have to ascend and become better people, If there are forces at work that are made to produce resistance in our ascension, maybe those are the archons, but they're there as testers. more so than enemies, in my opinion, you know. And maybe there is a dragon, a great cosmic dragon trying to consume all life, and we're fighting against that on a multi-dimensional level. I don't know. It's a little high up to check, you know. I'm not at that scale right now. Maybe if I smoked enough DMT, I would be able to go see. But for now, all I know is that there's real life demons manifesting through people, and there is a real world element of, say, very hidden and physical forces that may be beyond our comprehension, that may work on a multidimensional level, like, you know, reptilian shapeshifters or something of the sort. I don't know either, but it's not impossible. The reality is way stranger than we think. Maybe it's only planetary. Maybe the galactic structure is actually as we can observe it, instead of being just an illusion and we're on some like disk planet. I don't know. Maybe gods are actually just aliens. It could be, because then it all makes so much sense. The archons, the demiurge were trapped on this place to be farmed. Like, all that is, it makes so much sense if we're looking at it from a planetary scale. Multidimensionality can just be another place in the infinite universe, because a dimension is just a measurement. So we could be like, hey, this planet is in another dimension and we can go to that dimension through a portal, but really we're going to another planet that's quadrillions of eons away, you know? Could be.
This is I think why you have to kind of like do your soul stuff, like clear out your inner meta narrative, because when you die and your soul goes through the vortex, it's like, sorry, you have too much baggage and you're going to naturally want to be reborn. You're like, oh no, I got to do this again. I got to do it right this time. I have too many regrets.
Maybe.
You know, too many, yeah.
But I think that, you know, like you said, if you go in there knowing that you don't know, you functionally have the same end that you just said. Just if anyone goes in there with infinite possibilities and they're like, but ultimately they don't have the answer, they'll just go back to, I don't know. So
the source, I guess.
At the end, you clear it. What you're gonna, if you pick one, if you're like, okay, Jesus is gonna meet me in heaven. Well, okay, maybe Jesus will meet you in heaven. Probably not. You'll probably reincarnate and just come back into this life cycle. But, you know, like, that's probably the real thing. But then people will just tell themselves whatever. Everything recycles, but not me. Like, come on. I don't know.
Supposedly through NDEs, near-death experiences, it's the life review that gets you. It's when you have to like go through every single moment of your life and all the choices you've made. And that's either going to scale out to like, you know what? I wouldn't have had done it any other way. I'm ready to go. Whereas otherwise it's going to be, oh, fuck. Oh, man. Oh, no way. No, don't do that. Oh, I can't believe I did that. You know, like.
Sure.
I heard you got to feel when you do the life review, you have to feel how you made other people feel.
That's a good one. That one's pretty
well, that's,
heavy
you
stuff.
know, when you die, you better have that ego dissolution moment, right? Where you're like, okay, I'm one with the universe. I'm about to be one with the universe. So yeah, you can perhaps have that moment of empathy.
From what I understand, we judge ourselves like that's like the feather, the heart to the feather, and that's why we are like our harshest critics, like a lot here, because we know what we're capable of, and that we review ourselves. Like when we review, we're like, we know what we could have done, what we can do, and that it's more painful.
Sure, but maybe arrogance sends you to hell because you can't grow further than that. You know, like if you die supremely arrogant, certain you've never done anything wrong or that like regrettable, then maybe they're like, okay, well, this one has no more growth left in them. Let's use the kids instead, and then you get pushed aside and reprocessed.
Andreas, like the whole waking life thing, where that whole concept of, or that thought of, well, like we all died, but we didn't want to give up certain things. We still wanted to experience certain things. So the human experience is that like last ditch effort of reaching back. Like we want to experience this. We want to continue to feel that. And we're not ready to completely let go and be this ball of light flying around anywhere and everywhere.
Black Myth Wukong. That's what that game's all about, right? Like the monkey achieves perfect Buddhism. He becomes a Buddha, and then he decides to go back to Earth because what's the point of trying to be immortal and missing out on all of the worldly pleasures of playing?
Sure. You give up your alchemy. If you're a Buddha, he didn't give up his alchemy. He did the opposite. He came back to Earth and helped everyone become Buddhas. I mean, that's the goal of a Buddha coming
I think
back.
he's just
usually.
fooling around though, yeah, right? I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
I like
yeah.
that
But
name,
he's the
though.
Monkey King, you know. It's a different. But what was I gonna say? Sorry, I lost it.
I mean, what's interesting
Getting
though,
that
as
ball.
far as like the near-death experiences, like how one common thread is like, I didn't want to come back. I was like, oh no, you're telling me I'm not dead yet, and they're like, nope, sorry, you have to go back. You're not done. And they're like, no, it's so nice here.
Right. Well, you know, I think God wants us to experience things too, because God is probably bored, and that's why He created us. So He was like to experience through us all the possibilities of reality. And as long as there's more possibilities, there's more fun to be had, more interesting experience, more novelty to have. And so maybe that's the reason why we're here. You know, it isn't novel to just be an undefined ball of light in the sky. Like, it's not fun. So come back to Earth, experience kissing a beautiful woman, have a beer with your friends, you know, like live. We're afraid of being human. We're afraid of being human because we all want to ascend to a higher being, but the human experience is why we're here. You know?
I suspect
I
that's
think
the
we like the suffering. I really think we like it. I think
Yeah.
we like the pain and suffering.
And I suspect that's the tragic irony behind it. It's like once you truly reach a state where you're like, you know what? Forget ascension. Forget like escaping samsara. I'm just going to embrace what I have and be grateful for it. Once you could accept it, that's when they're like, all right, you're ready. And you're like, what the fuck?
Pretty
I
much.
just figured this out. Yeah.
The reason we're not being fed spiritually is because we're so hungry for it. You know, we keep asking for it, but we need to be starved. We are in a spiritual purging, like, generation. You know, I mean, it's been generations, a few centuries of just since the Enlightenment era, where people just purged all the spirituality. God is dead, all that stuff. And now it's being reborn. And, you know,
Yeah.
that's the entire theme of most gods. It's reincarnation. Things reform themselves and reshape themselves infinitely. And so too we will, and so too our gods will. They're never going to go away. They're just going to change forms, change symbols that we use to represent them. Sometimes we'll pretend that, like, you know, oh, this isn't a god. It's just a computer.
No, I definitely see a building like spiritual hunger among the masses. Like
For sure.
even now, like NPR has like regular segments about spirituality and religion. I'm like, okay, this is I guess we're reaching a new phase.
The meaning crisis is coming to a head.
Yep, absolutely.
People now with the end of the spell breaking with Donald Trump and the Epstein list, like that, a lot of people suddenly went like, whoa, like, holy shit, this is all bullshit. Like, it's all bullshit, you know, like how far does this bullshit really go?
Dude, I was so bummed learning yesterday that Trump is trying to reverse that ruling in Florida about the fluoride, removing fluoride from the water, that they filed something to have it reversed. I'm
Even
like,
more fluoride.
You've got to be telling me they're not okay with removing fluoride from our water, and what fluoride does. And it's not the natural kind of fluoride. It's not the one that's occurring naturally, but what fluoride does to our pineal and prevents us from connecting somewhere. You know what I mean? Like of connecting to source and being able to utilize that. So I was so upset. I'm so upset over that.
Well, I remember the first time I heard about fluoride, it was saying that Nazis put fluoride in the water of the Jewish people they had in the camps because it would nullify their pineal gland, which would nullify their capacity for imagination, basically generating ideas was nullified. So they're not able to come up with plans to escape. They're not able to form plans to unify. Everything is being suppressed. So then later on, they were like, this is good for the teeth, so we're going to put it in all the water, basically. That's the justification. But, you know, like, look, at this point, I'm sorry, but it's been decades now that I'm just, I can't believe people still believe. They still have trust. They still think culture is their friend, that that politicians are actually telling the truth this time. This time,
But they're going to release the
time it's
Epstein list
different.
this time. Yeah.
Like
yeah.
it's been centuries. If you actually look, it's been centuries of this deception, and now decades of confirmation, decades of the same shit over and over, more and more refined. And people are just like, I'm going to remain a fanatic for a political party. Like,
well, the shadow can only be suppressed for so long. I truly believe that. I truly believe it. You could try to make a global population, as secular, as materialist, hardline materialist as possible. And that inclination, that blocked heart chakra or whatever, it's just going to keep growing and growing and growing into a monster. And it's going to come back out like collectively, not just like individually, but as like a whole species, I think.
sure.
And paired with the potency of technology, it's gonna churn it out some crazy outcomes, right?
Well, we're 2 hours deep. How about we start doing some closing words? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. Thank you all, especially you, Vince. I never get to see you often here anymore, but everyone else too. Thank you, Julia and Jordan. Can't wait to see Sam the Newsman tonight. And it's good to see you too, Andrew and Andreas. And thank you to everyone watching. I think I'm starting to like know who the regulars are now, so they're always fun. Yeah.
You're the regular.
Yeah.
Jordan, you wanna pop in some words? What are you thinking?
Yeah, thanks for having me back. It was great to see you guys again. Julia, pleasure to meet you. Yeah, make sure to catch Sam the Newsman tonight if you can. He's got a new producer, myself, so we're going to be trying to take the show to some higher levels. So yeah, we'll be having fun with that. But yeah, great talk today, as always. And yeah, I hope everyone stays well and stay safe.
Based. How about Julia? What are you thinking?
I was just recapping the last two and a half weeks, and I went to Sedona. I spoke at a conference. I went to Bradshaw Ranch and filmed a documentary, which is wild. But literally, somebody really close to me died, and I found out a week ago, and it just takes me back to living from the heart that Andreas beautifully brought up today, of just, live from the heart, speak from the heart. I just want to come back to that. And I don't know, I cherish this information of this stream of consciousness. And I think you guys are wise. And I just thank you, Andreas, for being so amazing. And the way your mind works is so amazing and refreshing. So it's just like healing for me to be able to have these deep conversations that, when you're grieving and going through loss. So I just appreciate you. Thank you.
Right back at you. And, I noticed also you've been exercising, and that's one of the reasons I was thinking about the heart, because a lot of what I think people don't do is pump the vortex and try to use the heart to process things. I mean, a lot of times we'll sit and lie down when we're super emotional, which is a thing to do. And I like to do that. But at the same time, doing physical exercise and breathing and heart pumping, I think, is so important to changing your mood and the weather. This is something came up earlier I didn't jump into, but when they're talking about how the weather can affect what you think about your reality, your epistemology, whether you believe in God, right? Or if you see a bunch of gods in the desert. I think it's the other way around also, that, the weather affects your mood, but your mood affects the weather. And that sounds crazy maybe, but I really think if you look into Wilhelm Reich and everything, it's completely true. So we all need to be pumping our heart. That's my thought. But yeah, love you. I'm glad you're here, Julia. Let's definitely do it again. Next time we'll call it the Cream Stream, because I think she loved that title so much. Cream Stream. Cream Stream is underrated.
Cream
That's
Stream
my
team.
subconscious nastiness.
Yeah,
That's my
team.
inner Pornhub Solomon liking that,
Honestly, I think it allows us to go those places. So, all right, and Mike Oxlong, because he has a long ox. Is that what you're doing there, bro? All right.
It's a family name.
The Minotaur thing, right?
Yeah. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, but the broken wheel gets replaced. That's all I got to say about that. Oh yeah. Also, my mom always used to tell me, if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much room.
It's a good one. That's a good line. I like that.
That's a good. Yeah, I like that a lot. That's a great one. Vincent.
I have a new song. If anyone wants to look at it, I posted it in the private chat. For a statement, well, be good to yourselves. It was nice seeing everyone. This is I'm in my whole life is being moved around right now, so life is a little wild, but yeah, I like it. But yeah, anyways, so take care of yourselves, and if you want your relationships to work, I don't know, stay beautiful for your partner. like work out at least. Take care of your health. Don't neglect yourself. This is a very important part of life that so many of us just stop giving a shit or never gave a shit about. And I don't know. I think most people need to survive. They do. They need it to survive. They should do it more. So
It's super based.
I love you.
I love you guys too. I love you, Gal. I love you
yeah.
all for being here. Thank you for being here. Let's do it again.
Let's do it.
There's philosophy in me.